We're at the ACMA Auto Technology Summit, and right now I'm joined by Mr. Deepak Jain, who is the chairman of Lumax Industries. Mr. Jain, it's been a while. Always a pleasure
Thank
talking
you
to
very
you.
much. Thanks.
So, want to start off with you. We're here at the Technology Summit. Going forward, what major technology trends do you see evolving or unfolding in the automotive space?
So I think technology will be the key competitor differentiator going forward. India has been very fortunate because it's multi-pathway mobility, so we can actually have a multi-pathway technology. I think the key concerns in technology would obviously be driving from the emissions. And then with that emissions, you have multi-part technology ways, be it EVs, hybrid, ICE, and increasingly ICE, which are much more efficient engines. I think India has its own unique things on terms of the gas fuel-based economies as well. I think apart from that, there is a lot of connectivity going on in basically the vehicle architecture. There is a lot of digitization which is going on. A lot has been talked about in this summit itself. And I think there are always trends which are to make them much more efficient, the vehicles, you have to have a lot of lightweighting as well. So these are some, I think, fundamental technology shifts which are coming in. Of course, there is the advent of AI. There is an advent of basically how the autonomous and the case kind of program. But I think for India specific, if I look at it, I think because of the pollution, the environment, the energy efficiencies, I think those would be the trends which would be more localized. And I think if you look at the policy support also by the government, I think that's in that direction largely.
So, under each of these threads that you talked about, connectivity, powertrain. So, what exactly is Lumax's roadmap going forward?
So I think Lumax, we are now a diverse group with multiple partners, multiple product lines. But I think the technology adjacencies, which I talk about, I think first and foremost, we are focusing on a lot of the electronification. We are talking about a lot of also connectivity, human-machine interface, lightweighting going more towards plastics. And of course, there are certain basically product lines which we are also utilizing a lot of sensorization. In all this, we are trying to give a value add to the customer where we want to move up from let's say, just a regular tier 1 to a tier zero point 0.5. I think the key, and this is something which we are just trying to do and endeavor with, would be also on the software. Because there will be a lot more software coming in, and not necessarily do all the software based on our products, which the customer realizes there's a lot of embedded software also coming in. And I think we are first challenging also what kind of software and what kind of technologies we develop that.
So on that front, I believe you've recently opened a new R&D lab in Bangalore. So what's the progress there? What work are you doing there?
So I think basically what we are trying to do is it's called Shift. And we are doing in Bangalore, fundamentally, we are trying to do technologies which we are currently having. And in that, there are certain areas where we want to venture out. We have right now a strength of about 20 basically software engineers. We want to basically kind of ramp it up to maybe a larger scale. But I think there is a lot more industry and our Lumax collaboration with customers to do certain POCs, which we're fundamentally doing. So hopefully within a year or 2 years, we will be very clear where we basically want to do software initiation.
Mr. Jain, within the realms of technology, we've also recently seen India signing trade deals with the EU, and also we've seen some, relaxation happening on the tariffs with the US as well. Particularly with the EU trade deal, there's a lot of talk about technology coming to India. So what's your thought on that?
I think it's a great deal which the government has done. EU has always been a very advanced market. If you see, there are a lot of EU players already in India. They've committed investments to India. I think there's also a lot of technology inflow already happening. Let's say from Lumax case point of view, I think we have actually 4 European partnerships which we have been having. I think so there's a lot of already codependency. I think now there could be a lot more sourcing happening because a lot of IPOs which are also EU dominant, there are a lot of tier 1 EU players who actually are present in India. So there could be a lot more sourcing opportunities from the component which could go into Europe. And I think a lot of technology transfers coming in from Europe getting into India. Because see, India always, the base had been that there were technology agreements. And I think if you're able to expedite it on a deep localization method, I think that will be very critical to develop the India supply chain and also to add towards the goal of increasing the global value chain from India to the rest of the world.
So where does that put India with respect to China? I mean, do you see India having a better advantage now to export to other markets globally?
I think, see, you have to see it in a very separate way. China is the number one global automotive market. It has its bet very, very firmly laid on electrification. It has a great ecosystem. I do also believe that China and India eventually will have to start cooperating, maybe not based on geopolitical issues, but based on where they want to collaborate within the industry. Because there could be a win-win situation in some areas. But I think there would be, independent of China, there definitely would be a lot of sourcing opportunities, which I think the Ministry of Commerce, our Honorable Prime Minister, is trying to give a lot more impetus to FTAs so that there could be more trade between basically the rest of the world.
So Lumax also, you have also opened an office in China. So is that with this premise?
So we plan to open in China. I think the China office would probably be doing, because we already do import and we do a lot of project management, let's say, for example, tooling sourcing. So this China office, which we basically would call a competency center, global competency center in China, this would actually focus on technology sourcing. This would do a lot of project management. This would also do in how we are basically doing not just on products, but also process and automation. And also probably see opportunities where China, tech and India, we can basically make some partnerships around that.
Coming back to the domestic market, Mr. Jain, we've recently seen the GST impetus coming for the auto industry, and that was, I think, gave a good booster shot to the overall industry. So, your thoughts on how the momentum is continuing into 2026, and how do you see this year shaping up going forward?
We are extremely happy that the government did decide to give, at the right time, the whole GST impetus to the auto industry. There's definitely been a demand surge, and also in certain segments which were not doing well. Let's say we talk about CV, we talk about two-wheel. I think there's been, from the GST, thing, there's been, I would say, a mindset shift by the consumer. And you have to also see that it's not just about GST coming down. There has been also taxation, direct taxation. So there has been actually more consumer spending, which would probably enable, and with this affordability with GST coming in, there's been a double whammy kind of thing. So I think we are very happy with it. We as a company has been a largely domestic player. We continue to be largely domestic player. And across product lines, we are across segments. So we are seeing a lot of buoyancy in the market. We have already given a guidance of actually having a high double-digit growth. We probably are closing the year with probably 20% plus. We continue and hoping that by next year as well, we should be actually in a similar kind of a growth phase.
Where do you see the overall industry closing in FY26-27, and any specific headwinds that you also foresee?
See, headwinds will continue. We will have geopolitical issues. We will, based on geopolitical issues, have certain sourcing challenges. But I think the industry, maybe post-COVID, it's been almost now about 5 to 6 years, has also matured in terms of handling these kind of complexities and transparencies. And that's why I think we feel bullish that this kind of growth could be sustainable. Of course, it's a wait and watch that, there was obviously, like you said, a booster shot in the arm for the industry. Will it continue on a much more sustainable basis? I think that's to be. As the industry grows to get to a high double digit, even if you're doing a single digit and a sustainable single digit, based on the macroeconomics and the GDP growth of India, I think we should be in a very good situation. I think the key is to get sustainable growth rather than just basically getting let's say some very, very strong escalations and then doing large dips. I think that's what the industry should avoid.
Mr. Jain, always very articulate. Thank you so much.
Thank you.